people can come and test stuff like Martin have done. It's kind of come and see what we do and let us know what can we do better and so on. Holger will talk a little later about our philosophy. And after the break, we have a plan to talk about world building in Unreal and how the difference between an Rokoko optical suit and an optical Rokoko inertia suit and optical system is. But let me just present Rokoko, our first master Jedi. Ghost Star from Rokoko. Whoa! Big applause. Woo! Here is Rokoko. Rokoko is for me a great example of Danish entrepreneurship. And maybe Ghost Star, you can take us through the story of Rokoko.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, hello and welcome to BrainBar. This session today about motion capture. To give a little, oh, I need this. Yes. Cool. To give a little understanding about what Rokoko actually is, Rokoko is a Danish company founded in Copenhagen last year, 10 years ago. So back in 2014, our CEO, Jaeger, had the amazing idea to wanting to sort of have a project for his work at the film school, where he wanted to do live 3D theater for kids, where all the actors were going to be wearing mocap suits, and then shot onto a big screen for the kids to enjoy. And the first thing he did was The Princess and the Frog, and it was a big success. So he wanted to create Rokoko afterwards to sort of be this live theater performance with 3D characters. And then people came to him like, that's way too small of a scope, Jaeger. Why don't you expand out into the world of films and games as well? And he thought, that's a pretty good idea, I'll do that too. So it started out as only theater for 3D, and then came out into the business that we know today with being both involved in virtual production. It's for games, it's for films, it's for apps where people want to showcase how to do fitness movements, anything that you can think of, live showcases as well with circus and basically anything, commercials, whatever you can think of, we've done it. Or we haven't, we just sold the stuff so people can do it. My job at Rokoko is as a senior product specialist to showcase how everything works for interested people like you who want to know more about the world of motion capture, and then also guide you through what sort of stuff we have that might benefit your projects. Rokoko is, as Anna mentioned, an inertial tracking system, which basically means that we use all of our motion capture through a connection to a Wi-Fi router that you see up there in the corner. So there's nothing outside actually tracking me right now. It's all based off the 17 sensors that I have in my suit in different parts of the body. And they are all connected via one wire throughout, based off of the position in here in the little box on the back. So this is transmitting the Wi-Fi signal to here. And then through a battery that I have in this pocket, that's not connected right now, we can power the whole suit at the same time. And that's basically how it works. You will need to have a wire from the computer into the back of the suit just for the first time to configure the Wi-Fi settings. But after that, you can unplug and then you're basically wireless. All you then need to do is take a battery. We recommend the ones from Anker. They're pretty good, cheap, reliable. This one has 15,000 milliamps, which means that I can roughly use it for 15 hours before I have to recharge it or take a new one in. Most often, if we go on conferences and stuff like that outside in the world to showcase Rokoko, we do bring our own router and then a couple of batteries just to make sure everything is working properly, because we don't often have a way of charging the batteries while we're gone, so we have like 3 or 4 batteries with us. So as you can see right now, we are fully live, but if I could have my assistant up on the computer, just recalibrating me for 1 second, because everything is looking okay right now, but as you can see, our hands are not super well put. So to do a calibration with Rokoko, we need to click the character on the actor, and then we click the calibration button, stand in a straight pose for just about 3 seconds. And then once that is done, we are good to go. And as you can see, we start in the 0.0 position where this big black box is in front of me. That is the Coil Pro that you see here in front of you. The suit is working great by itself, and we're able to do some pretty cool movements. If we also had a box or something we could stand on, we could also do elevation tracking. So if you need someone to be caught in the movement while moving upwards, we can do that as well. Our hands looking pretty cool. And we've also made or we haven't made it, but Alan has made in collaboration with BrainBar and Qualisys a plugin for Qualisys where you can actually put in the gloves on the same system, so you can sort of mix this optical tracking with the inertial tracking. Because Qualisys doesn't have a way of tracking your fingers right now. It does somewhat the hands overall, but if you combine something where you get high quality finger movements as well as the optical precision of Qualisys, then you have something that's totally unbeatable in the future. Rokoko is sort of an in-between for people who are indie developers making animations for themselves or for their own projects. And we recently, last year in September, made our indie bundle available for people who are working on their own or a very small studio where they don't have a lot of funding, don't have a lot of cash to move around with. So we made an indie bundle for people where they can save 40% off of our suit and our gloves and our face capture solution. Rokoko's catalog of products are this, what you see here with the gloves, the suit, our Coil Pro, and then we also have two different facial systems. We have what we call our head rig, which is something you place in your head, and then in front of you, we're gonna be placing the phone on the head rig, and then you can then, through that, capture all your facial movements as well while moving and doing weird stuff. And the thing with the iPhone version, or the phone version, is that it can be a little heavy on the head over a prolonged period of time. So therefore, we also developed something for Android people, where instead of placing the phone in front of them, it's just already an established camera, and then you just need a wire going from the headset down into your Android phone. So you can either use it for Android or iPhone, totally depending on what your preferred system is. I like iPhone because that's what I have. Let's see if we can actually get the Coil Pro working. So the reason that we made the Coil Pro was basically that, as you can see right now, everything is looking good with our movements. But if you want to do something with clapping our hands together, it's pretty accurate in some ways, but sometimes it can get off. And that's because all the positioning that we do right now is relative. So the sensors in the suit and with the connection to the Wi-Fi router, it's all trying to calculate in real time where we actually are in the 3D world and real world at the same time. Which is also why if I try to walk in a completely straight line, I can do it somewhat, but as you can also see, we deviate maybe a little bit to the left. It's actually pretty good. Sometimes it also does depend on the environment that you're in. Because we're using the Wi-Fi signal and we all have sensors inside of us, we do have something that's called magnetic interference that can affect our results. If my operator on the computer can click on the details panel on the right side, and this does also happen, where you can see Rokoko was disconnected from the Wi-Fi. If that happens ever, it's the fastest and oldest solution in the book. Plug it out and plug it back in. And then in just a few seconds, we'll see it go live one more time. So then when we click the details panel on the right side, as soon as the suit is back online, of course, and we click our character as well, you can see down here on the right side our diagnostics panel. And this is all in real time. You can also see on the little lightning bolt that's sort of in the bottom. It's recording everything right now at 200 frames per second. So if you're live streaming to a different software like Unreal Engine or Blender or Maya, it's all going to be streamed at the highest frame rate possible. When you export, you can then choose if you want to export with 12 frames per second up to 100 frames per second. So if you want to do any cool slow motion, you can easily do that. So yeah, as you can see now, our hands are not captured well enough for us to be able to do a clap. And that's the reason that we created the Coil Pro. Everything is relative with just a suit, but the Coil Pro creates an electromagnetic field around itself, which basically let us get the absolute positioning based off of the gloves, because they both have an electromagnetic field that can connect to each other. So instead of having the relative position, we can, as soon as we turn on the coil, get what's called global positioning. Stupid sticker. There we go. And we get this cool little sort of sphere around us where you can see this is the Coil Pro sphere. So within this area, it's where we're going to get the absolute position tracking of our hands. The reason I would say the hands is because it can't, at the moment, calculate the global positioning on the whole suit. So we do it off the gloves. But it does also help with the overall position of your body. So if we want to walk in a straight line, we can finally do that now. Yes? That is 100% a possibility. I don't know if they're working on it right now, but I hope they will for the future. Yes, exactly. And if anyone has questions throughout, you can ask them abruptly now if you want to. We're also going to do a Q&A by the end of this whole presentation. So if you have any questions you want to save for later, totally up to you. Thank you, Holger. All right, so let's do a recalibration because now we had the Call Pro online. So we need to recalibrate just to make sure that we get the best position possible. We'll move around our hands. So what you also saw there was sort of the fix for the coil, because the coil itself actually has somewhat of a compass inside of it. So it actually knows what is north, south, east, and west, or the XY axis. So if we are standing in a specific position around the coil, it will always know exactly where we are. And we can clap now, any position, and it's always going to track us 100% accurately with our hands. The reason this is super important is that if you want to do something like multi-character capture, where you need 2 or 3 people that are doing maybe a fight scene, you will need to have them being somewhat close proximity with each other. So if you work with Rokoko by itself and you had 3 people all in the same scene, it will all be relative. So if they needed to punch in a very specific way, of course it would look dumb because they might punch for the stomach, but the other character is still relative. So he might be standing all the way over here and I'm just punching into the air. That doesn't work. That's why both optical tracking and electromagnetic field is super necessary if you want to do something that's accurate with multiple people at the same time. Today I'm only myself, sadly, but I will be doing a little FBI scene so you can see sort of how this accurate capture can be well thought out. I brought this little gun and I will shoot this way. So let's click on the recording button. FBI, open up! Got him. And then in Rokoko Studio, we can actually go in and clean up all of our motion capture in real time. We are planning, I don't know if I can actually say this, but I'll say it anyway. We are planning on creating a completely revamped version of how you clean up your mocap. Because right now you can see when the blue and green bars are filled down on the ground, that basically means that the software is recognizing that my body is in contact with the ground. So if we ever want to do something where I'm off, we would have to clean that up a little bit. But right here, it's captured well enough. But with the new software we're pushing out later this year, right now it's called Project Phoenix, because it's rising from the ashes that is Rokoko Cleanup right now. You'll be able to completely edit everything for your mocap inside Rokoko Studio. It's going to be really nice. Right now it's only feet, but for example, if I thought that my hand position on the door was dumb, I could go in and edit that in post-production before I actually have to export everything to my secondary scene. So all the cleanup you're currently doing in Unreal or Maya, and if you hate that workflow, we created something that's perfectly well made and also made in collaboration with animators that are already editing, so they can actually have an influence on how the software is built and put out to people. Currently we are in alpha testing and it's going really well so far. I've had the chance of editing a little bit of it myself, and as a person who is not an animator, I'm just looking good in a suit. It's a very innovative tool because I don't know how to work with motion capture, but to just be able to set a new keyframe, then that's it. I can make the next Pixar.
That's your hand.
Yes.
Do you then have all the positions of the hand and then you can change it a little?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
You get all the different bones for
Inside
each finger as well. So everything you're going to be able to move around now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, finally. I've been with Rokoko for 2 years, 3 months, and this is the first time in a long time where I'm actually excited about a software update. Of course, it's amazing with the hardware that we've been able to push these past what's 2 years with the Coil Pro coming out December of 2023, and the head rigs and our head mounts coming out last year and also in 2023. So we're always trying to sort of innovate what we do here at Rokoko, and that's also why we want to do something like prop tracking in the future as well. Because right now, as you can see on the clip, it's basically only my hands and body being captured at the same time. But it would be great if we could sort of put in a 3D gun in real time. Of course, we can do that in post-production, but it can be combined with HTC Vive trackers in Unreal Engine if you're working with that workflow. But totally depending on what you guys want to do. If it's for virtual production, we can be there as well. We've done several things in the past, and we work very closely with a lot of the big studios, both here in Denmark, but also internationally, like Disney, Sony, Warner Brothers, talking more locally, IO Interactive, Ghost Ship Games, many others. Now, this scene is pretty cool, but of course we want to see it in a different environment. So if we go onto the right side of the screen where you can see export, we can then totally choose what we want to do with this clip. We have 3 different versions of exporting options. Is this updated? It is not. So we actually have 4 now. We have DLTV, BVH, FBX, and in the update that came last week, we can finally also do CSV files. CSV is great if you want to work with the actual data to sort of calculate different positions. For example, if you're working with stroke victims and you want to calculate how their movements is progressing in their recovery period, you can do that with a suit or with the gloves by themselves. So it's actually also helping people gather data on how to make the world a better place. If we check the skeleton options, you can see right now we have many Unreal Engine 5, but totally depending on how you rig your character or what software you're working in, you can use it for Mixamo or the human IKEA skeleton, which is made by Autodesk. You can also create a custom one if you have a character that is in a certain rest pose. We do recommend, if you're working with Rokoko, to have characters in a T-pose before retargeting them in your preferred software. The rest of it in bottom is not so important. Mainly it is for your own preferences. You can select that. If you want to have root motion, which is super important if you're working with Unreal Engine, you can export that as well. And if you have multiple characters, exporting them as individual files is also going to be a possibility. Are we ready with the Unreal Engine? Perfect.
Then I just go in and interrupt a little as the moderator here.
Yes, please.
Thank you for now. I don't really know the audience. I know we have some DOPs and some actor and some studio people, and so talking about the mocap very fast gets quite technical with a lot of words you maybe haven't heard before, and even me that have worked a little with this thing, you know, it's retargeting. What the fuck is that? Sorry, what is that? I just wanted to ask the audience: is it too technical talk, or do you actually kind of understand it? Yeah, yeah. You can follow along, and it's because what is cleanup?
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. I'm just curious about if how we explain this to people that haven't worked with mocap before.
Good point.
Have you hands in the air? Have you worked with Rokoko before? That's interesting, and that's also good because if they understand the lingo, it's good. Yeah, I just wanted to ask.
If there are any words I'm using that you don't understand, feel free to ask. Can I get you to repeat into this, please?
Yeah, sorry. So just to understand the level, I had a question. After this process, you exporting the data, like to take this data and to rig your character in another program, or like, how is it going on? Like, what you're actually exporting?
Yes, you're exactly right. So basically what we're exporting is the data, as you mentioned yourself, as an FBX file most often, because FBX files are the ones that supposed to be working with 3D characters. Basically, what we're exporting is the bones. Yeah, so what you don't see here, because we're having this super awesome green guy, which name is Newton, sort of our mascot at Rokoko. He has bones on his inside, similar to what you and I have on our insides. And that's exactly what we're exporting. But depending on the software that we're exporting it to, every software is different, and the bone and hierarchy is also different depending on the software. So that's why when we go on to the left side out there, where you can choose the skeleton, that's sort of our way of defining what sort of data we actually want to export. So of course you have the forearm, upper arm, shoulder, neck, everything in between. But different softwares have different names for some of these bones. For example, down here, that could be lower leg, but some also call it shin. So that's sort of how we define that in the export with the different skeleton presets. The retargeting process is done in a different software, because different softwares have different ways of doing retargeting. And retargeting is basically taking each bone of my body and attaching it to the corresponding bone in the secondary software. Nice. Do you have any more questions until we move on to the Unreal part? Go ahead.
Thank you. So what I'm actually interested in is the root concept. This is that I came across a few times and never really comprehended. It is an additional bone that is, I presume, like the origin of the skeleton,
Yeah.
but that's where my knowledge ends.
Yeah, you could say that, and I will say it's depending on the software exactly how important it is. I know with Unreal it's super important. They really want you to extract root motions because it's sort of tracking on a path, whereas others it's just XYZ. So root motion is important, but depending on the software. If you're working with, I would say, Blender, and you export a character from here or an animation from here onto a 3D character there, root motion is actually not so important because it's different how they work with the data points and the bones. It's sort of a center of mass root motion, so it sort of creates a bone almost in the middle of your upper body, somewhat between the hips. Again, depending on the software, it can be different, but it helps with actually creating a path for your movements in the post-production scene. Are we ready with Unreal? Yes. Very nice. Then I will give the word over to Simon, and he will sort of explain what Unreal is and what he does with it, and how he uses the data from Rokoko Studio in post-production. I think you can do both. Totally up to you.
Klar. All right.
We figure it out again, and Simon, action.
Oh, okay. Sure. Hello, my name is Simon. I'm an educated actor and 3D artist by trade, and now I'm apparently a 3D actor for some reason. I primarily use Unreal Engine for basically everything that I work with on a day-to-day basis. And today I'm going to show you how I use mocap data from Rokoko in Unreal, basically. So as we saw, here we have Gustav's performance, amazing as it is. But if we want that to be on top of a, shall we say, more lifelike character instead, Unreal Engine has made it very easy for us. If we simply go to our dear animation and we choose our male character, as you can see now, you can only see a floating hands and some shins, I believe. But that's simply just because of how the skeletons are set up for metahumans. But if I click on aforementioned animation, you can see the performance being transferred one-to-one to our dear metahuman. Now, if I go and export this to, let's say, workshop content, because consistency, and And here we then have our dear character here. We can now attach what I believe was called test number 2 creatively. And let's see here. Is he still, what is it called? Live linked? I'm unsure. Can we say none? No live link? Live.
Why would you need a live link if it's an FBX?
I don't. I was making sure that it is not enabled. Let's see here. Very fitting that I say things are easy and they don't show up. That's nice. Okay, I'll do it differently in that case. That sounded like a yes.
Yeah, I kind of don't know what it is.
Okay, what is a meta-human mode?
It's connected to Unreal Engine in a way. It's like a digital version of a human.
Yeah. It's a free version. It's free.
It's free. Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of meta-humans that you can use for free. And it's just easy because it kind of works when it works. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think we will talk about this after the break, but you can stylize a meta-human. That's what we have done with Cortex. That is our Cortex. Is our mascot, right? So interesting.
This is weird.
Just paddling along here, using some time when tech guys are setting up their stuff. But it's also kind of interesting because when you're on a film shoot, normally everything works. You very rarely wait for something that is broken or, oh wait, it doesn't work. In motion capture, we do have some times where we just need some, we call it technical time. We have to recalibrate or refiddle or whatnot. And it's kind of, some folks find it like embarrassing. I find it normal. Because we have to use time, and especially when you don't do it every single day, all the time, you have to remember a little. 2 weeks ago we did it, so maybe we do it again. And that's why we want to change that business here. We want to do it more. So we are used to doing it, and we educate operators that have tried this before they come and show it to other people. So this is it's actually good that it's a little tricky because that's a part of the game. And we have to get used to that, I think.
Absolutely.
In a certain limit, of course, if we have a big production, we will prep and practice the day before and all that. But it's just, I kind of often I see people get like, what is the English word for that? You know, they are losing their patience. Because they have to wait, then they start talking and the noise comes up and you kind of lose concentration. So it is part of the mocap pipeline to control these breaks for tech. So, but they are there and we cannot avoid it. How is it going, Simon?
Oh, is that why? Give me just 1 second here. I will add it again. I think I may have, well, never say you know what you're doing, because that invites issues.
And some breaks, of course, is worse than others, because if you can't make it work, it's fine that if you kind of trust the BrainBar that it will eventually work, but if you kind of experience, you lose confidence. And that's also an important thing to administer on a mocap set is to keep focus, because sometimes it's all over there. You don't know what's going on. You just have to wait, and the actor is sitting and he's getting bored and he's not in the mood. So okay. That is this kind of flow thing you need to kind of run during the day. And here now I can see some things happening, so I will
just need to do your
slowly. Okay.
All right. Turns out the first actor didn't want to work today, so I just made a new one.
Okay, cool.
All right. Oh, give me a sec. So here we now have our dear beloved metahuman doing the motions of Gustav. And as you can see, like he said, the hand motion is basically one-to-one. And he mentioned, the dear Gustav, that eventually we will apparently be able to do some editing inside of Rokoko, which is going to be amazing. Because right now, what I would do is I would add a layered control rig to this character. Right. Again, never tell them your plans. There we go. And we get all these basically one ring for every joint in the body, essentially. So if I wanted to, for instance, say, I think you're too high on the ground, I can lower the person down, and now they are doing a duck walk, basically, throughout the entire animation, if that is what you want. This is a layered system, currently. So if I decide that I don't want it, I can mute it. Wow. And it is no longer doing what I said it to do. But we can also keyframe things, like you would in most other video editing softwares. So let's say the head, for instance. We'll key it where it is here. And let's key it where it is here, for instance. And then once more here. And let's say that here we decide that they are looking at something in the sky. So we would then simply turn, like break our necks, look at the sky, and now when you play through the animation, again, never tell God your plans. Oh, I see why. It's because I haven't set auto key on. There we go. So now we can go from this, looking up, and looking ahead again. And again, if we decide that all of this was not to our liking or whatever, we can always disable it and keep the original motion capture from Rokoko. So everything is non-destructive, and you can do iterative work and send out multiple versions of different things to see if a director have a specific direction or whatever they want to go through. Questions? Or?
I would like to know, so working on a layer-based system,
Yeah.
is there a way to merge layers?
To merge the layers, you can, at the end of things, you can bake everything to the character in itself. So then you would have a key per frame, and then you could basically merge everything and export that as an animation file if you want to. But merging layers, like into it,
Yeah, for
their
example.
own layers, I don't believe is possible. But you can merge everything into one thing if you want to.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Because I think, as for acting, that is basically the long and short of it. We do also have, let's see here. What is it? Is it this thing? I forget. It is not this thing. It is the control board, I believe. That should be somewhere in the world. There it is. Here we have a board of all of the muscles within the face of the character. So we can also go in and do this loveliness, which is always fun. Currently, we don't have any animation for the face because we didn't do walk around with the helmet on and whatnot, but that is definitely also an option, both within Rokoko, but also with MetaHuman Animator, if that's what you want to do. And then you would simply have an animation of a real face that it would map onto your character of choice. And you can sit and do tweaks of the face afterwards in a layered basis, as mentioned with the body. So you can do changes to whatever detail you actually want. And again, you can make multiple iterations of different workflows, and you can go with one or another, and you can always go back without having to destroy the original data, which is very nice.
So can I ask, what is the difference of working in Unreal Sequencer and the Rokoko timeline?
Well,
I would say definitely say for the Rokoko part of it is that it's supposed to be as innovative and easy to use more than any other software out there for cleanup. As you can see now, Simon had to go through many different steps to actually get things retargeted and go through many different things, add different new things to the timeline. And with Rokoko, you would basically just go in and pick the part you want to change, make a change, and it will save it automatically. And it's a much more simplistic workflow, so it's good for people who already know what they're doing, but it's also an amazing part of technology for people who are completely new to it. For example, with me, as I mentioned before, no experience with character animation prior to working at Rokoko, and I can basically go in and do everything that a professional, educated animator would be able to do in Rokoko's part of it. I don't know how to do it with Unreal.
And that's the new version of Rokoko you're talking about?
Yes, Project Phoenix. Forget that you've heard about that today.
I do still use Rokoko's software a lot for contact with the floor, because that is not, I'm not saying it's impossible in Unreal, it's definitely doable, but it's tedious. But in Rokoko, you can just say, at this point, feet has contact with the ground, and then you would have like a normal, regular step that a normal human would have. Whereas in Unreal, you have to go in and manually add movement and stop the highlight. For me now, from Rokoko, I'm looking forward to the other stuff. That sounds great.
It is an issue with when doing any sort of motion capture. It is an issue with foot sliding, especially when you do something live. And with Rokoko, we have a plugin that basically cleans up all that by itself. So you don't really have to go in and change anything, except if you're moving off the ground and you want to know exactly when your character is going back and landing. That's something you can specifically go in and change. But all the other foot sliding and stuff like that, completely eradicated as soon as you finish the clip. While Simon sets up the next part of his thing there, you're probably also thinking, why choose Rokoko over anything else? And it's definitely, there are different things that Rokoko can do that makes it so easy and good to work with. Rokoko is transportable, so everything that you need to work with, you can basically be put into a suitcase. You can bring it anywhere. You can use it outside. I came in today with all of my equipment, set it up in 5 minutes, and I was ready to go to record my first clip. The price of it is also a fraction of any other motion capture system out there. Basically, everything that I'm working with today can be found on our shop for a little over $6,000, and that includes face capture, the Coil Pro, the suit, and the gloves. And then our software works for a full year, and then you can renew it for $600, $240, or work with it for free. Question. Studio like this, where with Rokoko, since it's inertial, all you need is a router and the suit and a computer, and then you're basically good to go. And a computer can be a laptop, so you can bring it anywhere you want to. And you don't need to be connected to the internet. You just need a Wi-Fi router to be connected into power, and then the Wi-Fi signal just basically works. So that's why it's super easy to bring it basically anywhere you need to go.
Woo!
Hvad streamer vi nu?
Represent.
Did you have one more question? With something super specific. He asked if you need a specific router. I would say no. You can basically work with almost any router. We do recommend one that has 5G connection, because if it uses a 2.4 gigahertz connection, it can have a problem with the reliability of the accuracy of the hands. So 5 gigahertz is definitely to be preferred, but you can use anything. At home, I have a 2.4 gigahertz, and it still works fine. So if that's the option that you have, it still works completely fine. But preferably a 5 gigahertz.
I was wondering, maybe Gustav, can you show, you showed the nice coil here, which makes a magnetic field.
Yes,
But could you show us what happens when you go outside?
I
the area? Have you done that already?
I have not. But
Okay. It's just to spread the understanding of that we have a global positioning system from this. But you can actually use that and then go out of it and come back to it. But then something will happen because it will jump a little.
A little bit.
I just put this one on you.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, let's do a. And if we can do a, yeah, it drags me back in, as you saw. If we go ahead and do a calibration. Calibration is easy. You only need 3 seconds, stand in a straight pose. I can't see the screen. Is it good? I should be good. Ah, we're fine. All right.
Want to show your work.
We're good. Perfect. So as you can see now, tracking absolutely perfectly. Or if we want to move out, we can also do that.
One moment, just rebooting.
Whoa. Oh, there we go.
And now we're out, and it's still capturing us completely fine. We move back in. And any deviation, you might saw my hands moved a little bit forward there. That's because the Coil Pro, again, picks up our global positioning. So our hands might have moved a little bit outside of the global sphere, but as soon as we came back in, it got fixed. And that's a small thing to change in post-production in terms of cleaning up and making it look as you want it to. So if we move back out again, we can do it fast, we can do it slow, but we're always going to be able to pick it up, as you saw again there.
So is the transitioning from outside to inside like smooth, or is it a jump?
It depends on the pace of the movements. You do want to do something that's sort of slow, but it can be picked up with fast motions as well. It's sort of trying to smooth out the layers in between, as you mentioned yourself. But yeah, depending on how coming back in, your overall relative position can have changed. So
If you're outside, it will drift. And
exactly.
then when you come in, it will go
Yeah,
out.
it will find your correct position again.
But it's quite a big area. I mean, it's like 5 meters. It's
Yeah, and we actually want it to be more, but because of regulations worldwide, we could only create such a high frequency with the electromagnetic field to not create harm. Basically, right now it has the signal of a Wi-Fi router. So I can come as close to it as I want to without my hands being in it. As you can see, this little red sort of shield appears when my hands get too close, because the field within this little area is too strong for the gloves to handle. We have a question? Great question. He asked if we could add more coils together. It is something we're working on. Right now, the electromagnetic fields sort of fight each other when we put them next to each other. But it is something we want to add later on, because then you can have as big a field as you want to. You can basically put a coil in each corner of this room and you'll be able to capture everything with 100% accuracy. That's still a very cheap price.
But you can put it upside down. So it could
Yeah.
hang up here.
Yeah, you can.
And that would be cool.
Basically, take any of the rigs that you have and find a way to turn it upside down. There's a little filter in the details panel in Rokoko Studio where you can, yeah, exactly. If you click the carrier, yeah, there you go. You can see reversed. And then you can move under it as well. And yeah, now my hands are broken because I took out the battery and put it back in. So if you ever again see this, a calibration can fix it in 3 seconds.
So if I challenge you a little, if I give you a point on the floor,
Yep.
let's just take a point. that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a point on the floor. Please go and stand on it.
Okay, okay. Should I put my finger on it too?
No, I mean, this is where can we make a mark in the software in some way?
Not in the software, no.
Okay,
Not
what
as of
is
yet.
The green thing, what is that?
That is where we calibrate it. So
Okay,
that's our
so
position
if
of
I put it
calibration.
here, where you calibrate it?
Yeah, let's.
Let's just calibrate again when you're on top of that one.
You have to move your hands.
So
Perfect.
when we're talking about foot sliding
Yeah,
and sliding,
yeah,
it's because the Earth is turning around.
exactly,
You can't use the center of the Earth in the inertia system.
exactly. And that's why you need a magnetometer.
Since we cannot stop the Earth from spinning, as yet, it will always drift.
Yeah.
So my question is, with this one, when you go outside,
Mhm.
it drifts a little, and you come back, and then you will go back to that point, correct?
Exactly.
Can we see it?
Absolutely. So now we know that's where we calibrated. We'll go out. Let's see if we can actually do some movements out here. Maybe try to run around.
Yeah.
And then we want to come back to that specific point one more time. And we'll actually also move around in here. So it picks up our position. And then we come back and we stand on the exact same spot where we started. Rokoko. Sam, do you have any more to present about Unreal, or?
Nothing intended, unless there's anything you want to show.
Anything you want to see? Oh,
If the hands, for instance, slide because of the connection, how easy is that to fix afterwards if you recorded it?
with the new update coming, very easy. Basically, just go into the cleanup process, take the hand's bones. I would basically take the one on the wrist, move it to the position that I want to, set a keyframe. That's it.
Yeah, I had a question. So when you export the FBX file and import it into Unreal, how many steps are there to make it like ready for live action? Is it a lot of work or is it relatively simple?
I would say it's relatively simple. It also does depend on the 3D character that you're working with. Metahumans can be a little bit more challenging because they have way more things that you can add on to and change. But if you have your own 3D character that you need to add the structure to, it's quite easy, especially with the new 5.4 version of Unreal, where they made the retargeting workflow as simple as drag and drop system. Whereas before, you would need something called a blueprint, which is basically the entire 3D skeleton structure that you need to add. And that would take a long time, actually. I think normally you would maybe do that for 30 minutes for it to be able to be set up. But with the new version, you can basically do it within 10 minutes. And that's if you're a newcomer to it. We also do have tutorials on everything on our own YouTube channel. Our creative director, Sam Lazarus, also the host of all our webinars, creates all of our YouTube videos and makes updates for workflows that are continuously being changed, like Unreal, because they come out with 5.7 probably in a month. So we need to update as well on our workflows all the time to make sure it's up to date with what's out there.
So,
And I think recently we uploaded the new Blender workflow, like last week.
can I ask why is it we cannot be live with the Rokoko person?
I have a theory. Yesterday, Rokoko Studio got an update, and I don't think there may have been a slight little thing that changed, like program-wise, software-wise, that makes it so that Unreal Engine doesn't recognize the skeleton
That's a
from
bummer.
the program.
That can sometimes happen.
It's happened to me before, which is why I'm assuming that might be the case.
Yeah,
But it brings forward the talk about versions. And we are in a version conundrum all the time. Because versions of the game engine, versions of Rokoko, versions of whatever, it's annoying.
it's annoying. There are always different ways of going around it. If it's something with live, you most often would have to go down a version in either of the softwares to make it work better. If it's something with retargeting, you can easily go into another software like Blender, retarget there, and then export that into Unreal Engine to sort of fix that step that you're missing in Unreal.
But if you want to be live in some world,
yeah,
built in Unreal,
yes,
you want to walk around there, you need to be live.
Exactly.
I guess to place the character and see the Pcap and stuff.
Exactly.
So it simply doesn't work.
Today, no.
Okay.
I mean,
That's quite interesting.
But that's Unreal's fault.
It is. I know it's Unreal's fault, but it's also Rokoko's fault, because why did you upgrade something that doesn't work in Unreal? So as a user, I would get pretty annoyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we see today, it doesn't work for some reason. We have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So what is the policy about these versions going forward? Isn't it like supposed to work when you put out
Automatically? Absolutely. We always try to make everything work just on the spot.
To talk about it.
Oh, 100%. If anything like that happens with any of our updates, we have different ways of contacting us so we can make it sure that there's an issue. So for example, straight after this, I'll go to the office and tell them that there's an issue with the live version for Unreal Engine, and they'll make it a priority to fix it as soon as possible.
One version back on Rokoko Studio?
Not as of right now. You would have to do that in Unreal. We are planning on making that a change as soon as Project Phoenix also launches, so you can choose your own version. Because it also is an issue for people who are still working with the Smarts Pro 1. It's no longer supported within the new updates for Rokoko Studio, so we want to make it an option for people to pick the last version of Rokoko Studio where the Smarts Pro 1 was compatible.
Yeah. That is for me as an on-set operator, it's very important that I can push a button and go back to the last version.
Exactly.
And find a bug in the new one.
Exactly.
That's the redundancy there is quite important.
Yeah.
So just to tell you, in 10 minutes I will go and pick up some kebabs, follow us, and I will be away a little. I guess we just need to keep the talk going and maybe take a drink or coffee or...
Yeah.
I don't know. Does any one of you want to be in a suit? Oh.
Absolutely. You're more than welcome to.
I mean, it's just an idea.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have a couple of suits also. I don't know what firmware they are, but would it be
100%.
interesting to try and get people in a suit?
Absolutely. Anybody who is interested can come back here with me, and then we'll figure out something like with sizes and everything.
Yeah, because I have a couple of suits hanging, so...
Question?
It's not a question particular, but I'm not sure about the schedule of these events, but I was actually interested if we can try out to kind of make an animation by ourselves and then kind of transfer it to the rig to another, like to Unreal, for example, to try it out by ourselves.
Yeah. Simon? She asked if it would be possible for them to create their own animation in Rokoko and then send it into Unreal, attach it to a skeleton.
We're changing up the schedule a little bit.
I usually wear like long johns or something.
Schedule, which is we're having some of our audience members go into and try and get into a suit and mocap, and then we'll try and we won't try. We'll record an animation and export it into Unreal using this workflow that we've been discussing for the last couple of hours. So thank you and stay tuned. No, it's all good. Yeah, vi har.
We'll do this one. I'll do that one. All right. So yeah. We'll make sure that all the are in the right place. More time. that have the way of that goes on the head. Totally up to you. I would put it exactly like I have it right now. And then we make sure good. The battery goes in.
Not seeing that like one-to-one usually, but I have seen stuff like if you have like a
We are 2
with
seconds
them
ready.
around. I've seen that.
Then you could right click on the actor and then do unpair or all inputs. All devices? Yeah. And then drag them back on. No, sorry? Take the elements on the device manager below and just drag over til venstre, hvor du ser alle dragterne og sådan noget. Der skal du bare drag op til actoren. Sådan der. Det var alt sammen. Og så op til højre i toppen, eller ikke op til højre, op i toppen, der er der sådan en lille ruler, hvor du klikker på actoren. 4 knap, tror jeg det er. Yes. Tak for det. How tall are you in centimeters? And there you go.
Okay, we need to create some scenes, like the environment, the background. Yeah.
What do you need?
Who should I be?
Acting wise.
The question is, who do you want to be?
Who do you want to be?
Can I put you over here instead?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, sorry.
And then we will use the small monitor for your view. Just give me 1 second.
You can do that. Dancing Queen.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Gustav, du står lige midt i framing.
Det er jeg ked af.
Det gør jeg ikke.
Oh yeah. Gotta show off the good sides. I don't think the coil is on.
No, right now it's relative. I wanted to give her a bigger space to work with.
Great.
Or I can act like a action.
It's incredible how active one gets when you get a suit on.
Okay, so you need to stand in the T-pose so you can put afterwards.
You don't need to.
3D character needs to be in the sequence.
So I'm gonna create one scene with the one movement.
Yep.
And then we try to.
And then you can look at yourself digitally back
Just say
afterwards.
action and cut, and then our operator will.
You're going to say action?
Yes. I'm just a little scared. So action. Okay, and then it's.
Cut. Send it my way.
Where you started punching, and then all of a sudden you had a sword.
That's the power of editing.
And I think the operator can fix the end of your expert. No mind.
Creative liberty.
Fix it in both.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah?
I am coach.
Then you can go up to sign. He'll show the whole process of creating it in Unreal.
Can I do that?
Yes.
If somebody wants to
Did someone else want to try the suit?
Simon, du skal have det over på monitor højre. Tak.
Alright. If you quickly come with us, we can see.
I'm sorry, can you just wait? I'm sorry.
Alright. We'll unplug the battery first.
Hvordan er Instagram-delingsreglerne her?
Så meget som du vil. Gerne tag os.
Ja, må jeg lægge billeder op, hvor du er på?
Ja, sagtens. Endelig. Og altså, som udgangspunkt, så at man er her, det er lidt en vi vil gerne deles om nødvendigt.
Godt. Det var også det, jeg regnede med, at man tænkte, jeg vil lige...
Ja.
Sure. You've been exercising. You should take a chill. All right. Well, let's do the immensely boring part of dragging an FBX file into Unreal Engine. And then we just say, yeah, of course, I want the mesh and I want the skeleton from this thing.
Yeah.
And I also want the animation.
Animations.
Import. Give it to me. And wabam, here you then have your movement as the weird character.
Yes.
The little stick fellow from Rokoko. Awesome. As we can all agree. And now if I just simply right click on that animation, I can say retarget animation.
Oh, can I try to do it afterwards? Like to just repeat your actions?
Just to get it in the fingers?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Should I do it? Should I say it slower?
Yes, for sure.
You know what?
So-
Let's just go back a few steps. In that case, we have this. I just dragged in the FBX.
Yes.
And we have all this. Save it. We all good. And this is the animation sequence.
Yeah.
Basically just the movement.
Rig. Yeah. Animated rig.
And you right click on this. You have retarget animations, which now is just a button.
Yeah, retarget animations. Yes.
Click on this and you get this lovely screen. You have a source skeletal mesh, which is this one that you saw moving over there. And then you want the target one to be
Your model.
the character that you actually want.
Yeah.
In this case, it's called male medium normal weight body, which is a catchy name. And when we play this animation, you see again the hands and the shins moving.
Yeah.
We then click on this lovely button called export animations. And we say, where do we want to be? Workshop, test 2, export, export. All right, great. Now I have these floating hands doing whatever. And then in the sequence, we have our character called Cortex in this sequence. We have a body. For this body, we want to say animation. We say test. We say test number 3. And again, never tell God your plans, because then he'll laugh at you.
Nah.
I don't know why, but it seems that I have to put on a new character every time I want to make...
Is it because there is an animation on him already? Or?
There really shouldn't be, which is the weird thing. But I can find a new one, no problem. Because I'll just retrace my steps from before.
Probably it's kind of the workflow that you need to input the animation first and then the character. I don't know.
Sorry, come again?
Is it like that's because you need to input the data of animated rig and then character?
That's usually not how I've made it work. Oh
Yeah.
wow, lovely hair. Let's just try this again, fresh. We add the character. We remove what? We remove the control rigs because we don't need those. And then we add the animation called test 3. Wait, what? Why? Oh,
Use live link body.
don't use that.
What's that?
There we go.
means, Live link body. Oh.
Sorry, my bad.
No.
It's because apparently it wants to use live link for some reason. All right.
General settings.
So move this here and then move the stop point to there. And now you see you moving as a punk character kind of thing.
I am.
You are a punk character. That's what's it called?
Character.
Oh, what the hell?
That's beautiful.
That's interesting. You are a good actress. How did you do that?
I'm sorry.
And now you can see, for instance, here, your lovely elbow is going through your body. If we go through this then...
Can I try to fix it?
You can.
Yeah.
Should I put on the thing so you can fix it, or do you want to do that too?
I want to do it.
All right. Here you go.
But if just
I can
be sure.
direct you.
So
Tutor session.
Okay, we
You
need to go
want
to
to,
the
on the
body.
body, you want to click on the plus on the right side.
Yeah, here.
Yes.
So I need to track.
In the top, you see control rig.
Yeah.
You want to go down to control rig classes, and you want to add what's called metahuman control rig. It's in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're like we have a character, we have animation, and then on top we're adding like.
You're adding controllers.
Okay.
I don't know if you're an animator or anything along those lines.
I tried a little bit.
Okay.
So, but not like it was just walking. So.
Right, because like again, the character behind is basically just a bag of bones,
Yeah.
and this person just has a ring per bone now. So if you want to,
It's also with the physics kind of. So, it's yeah like if I move the part. Yeah. Okay.
oh yeah, yeah,
So now we need to open it.
you can click in there, click on one ring you want to edit or move or
Okay.
whatever.
So we find this part.
Then I would say would be the shoulder,
Yeah. Okay.
that one there.
That's a
Yeah,
T-pose,
I
right?
click.
Exactly. Everybody has to be able to
You
do
go
that.
to these are the between move and rotate and scale.
But scale the bone. Like slowly.
Don't scale. Never
We need
scale.
to move.
That's not a thing. And also don't move. That's never a thing. You just want to rotate. I'm
Okay.
such a good teacher.
Okay, but we need to also keyframe it. So can we? Okay, I like it here, and then I
Then you can
keyframe,
press yes, exactly.
and then I
You
also
move.
I don't like it.
There you can move it.
And then
Do you know how to move around in Unreal?
yeah, no.
Press and hold right click. And then move with WASD like in a video game at the same time. Right click and move.
Whoa. Sorry. No.
It takes a little,
Sorry.
but you know, you'll get there eventually.
Okay.
Have you ever used the
Uh,
3D mouse?
Yes, I have. That was a weird.
So I want to
You
rotate
want to
it,
rotate,
and then probably here, like that,
exactly.
and then like a little bit that, and then
And it's automatically made a key because
Yeah.
I'm one of the animators that's lazy. I just have auto key on.
oh, I see. So and then it's okay, normal.
Now it should be fine.
Yay! Okay, we need to just.
Move out. Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so and then we. Whoa.
we
And
have-
then we can actually animate it anywhere we want.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, my usual go-to is I actually just at the very first frame I key everything where it is because then we have a fallback
Yeah.
for whatever reason. If you like, if I, for instance, in the middle, I choose to like tilt the head 90 degrees,
Yeah.
that is tilted like throughout the entire clip then,
Yeah. For sure.
unless it has something else to reference.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go nuts.
Ah. Okay, I see, but that's fun. And then like.
It's very like, I'd say user-friendly, but of course I would say that.
No, it's user friendly. I just need to get used to it. Wow, that's my pose. That's
Yeah.
definitely.
Such a charmer.
Woohoo! I just tried to punch Jeff. What? Goodbye. Goodbye, little friends. Okay, I think I can do it by myself. That's fun. Do you want to show something?
Not really.
Okay, that's. But thank you.
No problem.
That's-
Have fun.
So and for example,
Taking over.
Yeah.
do you
I'm
want
out
to
of a
try
job.
something?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
You.
Yeah. So. Oh.
tror bare, den skal
So
kalibreres
what
igen.
if? Is it okay that?
You got it?
Do we have a graphics for these keyframes
You
afterwards?
mean like a graph?
Graph, yeah.
It's the button there.
Okay, graphs.
And then you click on whatever thing you want, and
Do you think it's relevant to make like such a huge amount of data for the basis? Because from animator of 2D graphics, I would say no.
no,
No. Okay.
no. The fewer
Fewer is
keyframes,
better.
The better, yeah.
So how do I, for example, if I see that okay, this is okay everywhere here,
Yeah.
but then here it's not okay again. Can I just delete this connection between those dots or no?
there is no real connection. What you're doing there is saying, remember where you are here.
Ah, okay.
That is basically what you're doing as a keyframe. Like, remember your placement, rotation, and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can change it afterwards.
That's fun.
It is quite fun. You're like playing with puppets. But the puppet is yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're...
I tried to just fix it, but it's the first time that I'm trying, so you... Okay.
It's all good. Do say if there's anything you want me to explain, though. Because I don't have anything else to do, really. Obviously.
What if, like... what was my question? I'm sorry, I'm just too excited.
Be excited, by all means.
Set the time to previous key.
You can skip between your, if I may.
Yeah, for sure.
You can skip between your keyframes.
Oh.
That's the thing that it does.
Okay.
All right. Any more useful keyboard shortcuts we use?
Keyboard, yes, there is one. If you want to go in and out of your cinematic camera, Shift C. That's the thing that's been added, like no one ever talks about. That is the best thing that they've done.
That's equivalent to 0 in Blender? Like you just
I believe so. I'm not the best.
but you just see it like from the camera's perspective.
Yes, that is exactly what it does.
En indicator til at sige, at jeg står på jorden.
Okay.
Så det er helt
That's fun.
Keyboard shortcut for toggling on and off auto keyframe.
I don't know if there's a keyframe. There's keyframing. A keyframe for keyframing. I don't know if there is a shortcut for keyframing. There is a button though. You can just...
Yeah, but
Do you not like auto key? Because if you don't, then just don't use it.
there are use cases.
Sure.
But I messed up so many sequences.
Because of
it was turned on and like we're here.
I've done the opposite though. I've made a big thing and then how does it look later? And it just forgets everything.
Can I ask if you need to consider when you're modeling the character, for example? Yeah?
Yes.
Do you need to consider
Everybody?
some, like
If I can just take the word here.
information about
just
okay,
picked
I
up
want to build.
Kebabs, fresh from the Kral Kebab House. Kral means king in Turkish. And that's the only thing I brought. So if you don't like kebab, you need some fruit or snegl and gifler. But I think we should break for lunch now because they are fresh now, and then we can pick it up after. And it's just like go over there. Maybe you can take a half kebab, you can take a whole kebab. There's no plate, so you take a piece of paper and then you eat it. There's cold soda water in the fridge. And action.
All right.
Thank you.
And now back.
So if you need to consider some details, like okay, I have to not only create the character, but I need to animate it
Yes.
in some way.
Oh.
What do you need to consider?
Ja.
Or
Men
do
det
you
er jo
need
så
to
separat.
something?
What details are you thinking?
folk, der
Like
sidder og
their
ser,
hair
so-
or their clothing or?
I think especially right now I'm thinking about the
som har været inde i
competitive
timen og
version.
kommet ud igen. Og der er
Does
flere, der har
it
sagt, at de
always,
vil, at jeg kan kun lige være på til at
person
starte med,
always needs to
kommer til at
have
ligge
all
senere
those,
og sådan noget. Og der er bare, vi havde 6 samtidig,
Oh,
som, altså jeg
not
tæller det med
really.
i
It depends
folk,
on
der har
what you
været her
want.
på en eller anden måde. Så
If you want
mit
them
råd
to,
har vi lavet 15 i dag.
if you want to motion capture the face, for instance, you will need a specific rig for the
I
face.
den grad.
Yeah,
They
for
need
sure.
to
Just
be like
repeating, we are breaking for lunch now, and
But the body can be whatever.
while there
They
are
have
still
no
boots
fingers. They
on the
have a-
floor, we will pick up the actual program
which needs
about
to only animate the tail.
12:30-ish, maybe 12:20. And until then, we're doing general
We did with retargeting the
play on the floor. Thank you.
whatever.
Fixed. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Ja, tak.
Welcome back from lunch, everybody. Gustav just have a small thing to say, and after that we will give the word to Mr. Michael Jaeger, and he will present himself. I hope the kebab was good. I really like the kebab. Holger, you will put on the camera up there. Yes. Gustav?
Yes. I'll grab this. So thank you for everyone for coming today and listening about listening what Rokoko can do and what we're capable of, and enjoying motion capture. I wanted to extend an offer to everybody who's here who may be interested in Rokoko as a product to feel free to contact me either on LinkedIn or on my professional email, gustav.jakobsen, Jakobsen with a K, at rokoko.com, and get 10% on any single product or on the full performance capture bundle. Just as a thank you for coming here and listening to me today. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. BrainBar 10%. Woo! And then I will present my good friend and colleague Michael Jaeger, who is really good at working in Unreal, but also have done quite a lot of mocap. And
I did, yeah.
Take it away.
Thank you. So, hello everybody and out there online. My name is Michael Jaeger Jensen. I'm a virtual production supervisor with a specialty within the virtual production toolset in Unreal, which is sort of like motion capture, in-camera VFX, so the big LED walls, like the Mandalorian style stuff. Previsualization for film and games, mostly within the cinematic spectrum. And I'm going to talk about this volume. What is the difference between optical mocap and the suit you've just seen with Rokoko, which is the inertial suits. So you've seen that the lovely people at Rokoko, they're using this coil because one of the issues with the inertial suits is that the sensors only know where they are in local space. So they know where they are, sort of where that sensor is, and that sensor is, and then you can extrapolate the entire skeleton. The thing about Rokoko and inertial suits like Rokoko and Xsense is that it doesn't know where it is in 3D space. So it has no idea where the floor is. You can make a lot of stuff and clever coding, as they do, to say, okay, I think the floor is here. As you saw that, when you record it, afterwards you can go in and see where your foot contact to the floor is. And then you can fix that. One of the issues with inertial suits is drifting. So these sensors, like your iPhone, when you walk around town, it might be precise to within, let's say, a couple of meters. But if you stand still, and you could see yourself on a map, you might all of a sudden stand 2 meters to the left because it's not a true positioning system. It's a sort of extrapolation on position. So in terms of how far does this sensor move, it's going to give you an approximate idea of where you are. So if I had a Rokoko suit on and I would stand here, and I will literally just be standing here for half an hour, and then walk away, I will never be able to come back to the same spot because the suit would have been drifting. Now they're trying to fix this really hard because it's, of course, longer takes can be an issue. So one of the biggest differences is that when you have an optical system like this, and this is a Qualisys system, and you can see that we have this volume that is like approximately 10 times 10 meters. And you can see all the cameras around. There's a light on. Each of these cameras is an infrared camera. And what it does is it literally looks at this space, and they are wide angle lenses, so they will have an overlap in coverage. And what that does, it means that if I have, I need a dot. Give me a dot. If I have one of these, which is it's just a soft ball with a sort of a coating on it that makes it fluorescent for the cameras. What this does is that if I hold this in space, all these cameras will see it. And if 3 of these cameras can see it, I can triangulate whether this is space. This type of optical motion capture system comes from life science. So in the beginning, of the dawn of this motion capture industry, this was used to be able to see how good you swing a golf club, or do you have a bad knee or hip? Because what this is a millimeter precise. So these cameras will see this down to sort of like 0.02 millimeters at the location where it is. So it will always be the most precise form of tracking, but it requires you to have a camera system. So when I have this dot, should I hold this still so you can, do you want to do it again? Do you want to, yeah, there we go. Can you put the rays on? So you see, this is the tracking volume, and you can see how this is literally covering this space. And the reason for that is that now I'm holding one dot here, and this will do nothing on its own, right? It's like this is the dot in space. I can give this a name called lonely dot number 1, and it will just, you can track it and can run around and go like, okay, this is great. But in order to get this to work, what we do is that we have I can describe it as a sort of like, it's bone definition list or skeleton definition list. Because I can take this, and if I put this on our lovely mocap actor here, as you can see, these are the same dots, right? But in order to say, okay, Rokoko has the skeleton built into the suit in terms of it knows that this is the arm, this is the elbow, this is the wrist, this is the hand, da, da, da. Here we just have dots on a Velcro suit. But we have a lot of dots. I think it's 57, right, Alan? Is it 57? So extended marker set. Now, what this is doing is literally just dots. Now you can see here, we skipped ahead a little bit because we actually created the definition where the bones will go. But these dots is the guide to create a skeleton. So the system knows where each one of these are, and each of them has a name, as you can see on the right side here. There's an elbow, there's a clavicle, there's a shoulder, there's a pelvis. This is a definition that is created from, excuse me, the software as a biped humanistic character. 2 legs, 2 arms, and so forth. And what we can do is like once we put this on in this configuration, and a lot of them is like, sorry, the other way. Yeah, there we go. This way, and bend this arm. For example, here the elbow, this is sitting at a specific location, which is one of the most important sort of bones, which is the elbow bone. It's like where is the rotation of the elbow? So that's an anatomically correct position. So these are like, we call it hero markers that says, okay, there's one here, there's like a few of them about, there's on the knee as well, so we know where the bone is bending correctly. I can't remember how many, I think there's like 12, there has to be on for us to say, okay, that's where the leg is, the arm, and so forth. The rest is like helper markers to make sure that when we create the skeleton, that the bones is connected correctly, so the elbow is not connected to the hip bone and so forth. I guess you all know that song, right? But what that does is that we have this definition of the character now. And can you do a T-pose? So what we do is that we place our actor in the middle of the volume. We have what's called the 000 point, which you can see on the floor. There's these X, Y sets. And that's literally the center of the volume. Is that, okay, I'm being moved. Okay. So that's the middle of the volume, and we put him in this thing what was called a T-pose. So the T-pose is the most optimal position you can stand in when calibrating the system because you're not hiding any dots. You can see dots down the side of the body. You can see all the dots on the hands. And then what we do is like we create this one here. So this is a calibrated skeleton. And can you move around, please? So just walk around stage. So now you can see that we have this skeleton definition. And this is our character. And what this is like, this is a 1-to-1 scale. So this is I forgot your name again, Martin. It was Martin, yeah, sorry. But Martin is a certain height. How tall are you? 176. 76. So this marker set is 176. It is super precise. It is so precise that, if Martin had a bad elbow, you'll be able to see it on this.
Oh, can I tell a story?
Yes, of course.
It is actually just a little story. NBA in the US have bought this system for the next 5 years. Quality is very happy. And what they use it for is I think every month, they do a tracking of every sports person. So they can measure, even before the sports person has a bad shoulder, they can measure that the shoulder is hanging a little because your body is compensating. So insurance-wise and training-wise, they use it. So it's quite precise.
And the idea of coming from life sciences, it is super precise. And not to dish the inertial sensor suits, but you are kind of working a little bit against the technology because the technology is not precise. So if you want to do what we call performance capture, which is I call everything motion capture, performance capture, because you are a performer performing a role as a character. This suit can see, if you can literally tell if this actor is out of character or not. It's that precise. So you can see that the shoulders are like a little bit down now. He's on his break now, right? And then if he goes into character, you can sort of go, oh, we're in character now. And the inertial suits are very good for like, you know, a lot of action. It's a huge space. You can run around. You don't need a tracking volume. So Rokoko, if you're doing pre-visualization for film and you have a scene where you have to run over a field, you know, I would choose that one because, you know, otherwise you need this volume times whatever, because, can you try and walk out? Because if you walk out of the volume, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, it disappears, right? So it's like, but try and come back in. But the minute you're inside the volume, bonk, here we go, right? So you can do like a run-in, but you are literally limited to this 10 by 10 meter stage. So this is the character, and now we are we calibrated, we make sure that the bone's looking okay. And this is how we would see the takes. So if you want to do a take, this is how we will see it. And it gives us an extremely good idea of if things are breaking or not. So if I would start to sort of, you know, you can see now one dot sort of goes away. If I start, you know, covering other things, you know, the system is quite clever, but you can see there's actually some issues there going on with the clavicle bone, right? And that's because, you know, it looks at the whole skeleton and says, oh, do I have all my dots? Do I have the shoulder, the elbow, the knee? And if it starts falling apart, then it will do its best to keep it. But the cool thing about this system as well is that the cleanup tools in this one is like, you have to be like a super nerd to use, but they're really, really thorough. So you can always go back and recreate problems, remove problems and recreate the skeleton from the T-pose you did in the beginning, which is super powerful. So a lot of time you hear, oh, there's a lot of cleanup in mocap, blah, blah, blah. But you know, if you keep it simple, like this one character, you probably would have no motion capture cleanup. If you have like 5 people in a pile, maybe you would. But we can give it a small demonstration about what is different from this also to the inertial sensors. Because this is one coordinate system. So this is the same universe, we're all inertial sensors. So can you zoom out a little bit on the qualities? Yeah, there we go. So if you try and just walk over the box, let me just move this for you. So if you just walk over, so it's literally just tracking what you see. It doesn't care if there's a box or a ladder or like you want to hang it in wires and stuff. It literally does that. With the inertial sensors, you have to train it to know, oh, I think you're now moving up. But this one, you don't need training. It just takes the skeleton and go, well, you know, the dots are moving like this, therefore he must be going up. It doesn't even care about it, right? Can you do like a roll on the floor maybe? So just, let's see. So these things are like possible with these stuff. So I'll show an example later about how they, in this space, also could do like stunts and stuff and fly rigs and things. But this is the cool stuff. And the thing about this, if you go back to the visual starter, there's no drifting, there's no nothing, because this is the dots. Yes, question?
Did it hurt when you made that roll?
Did it hurt when he made the roll? So we're clever. These are squishy. Now what that does is that it does gives us a tiny problem because these cameras will see this as a sphere. If this starts to squash too much, it's no longer a sphere. But if we put hard motion capture markers on this guy and he does the, you know, he'll come back, you know, really, really bad. These ones here. So these are hard. But these one can be used for other things. So this won't deform. But to spare the life of our lovely actors, we do this because it's just nicer, right? Like this is a massage you don't really want for 10 hours a day, you know. So the other things we can do with this, thank you very much, is, you know, we can introduce props to the space. So here is just a box. This is the thing. It has 4 dots on it. And you can see I now have a box. So the thing about this is like if you try to do this with inertial sensors, you might have a Vive tracker or some other tracking system, but that's 2 different coordinate systems. And how do you then, you know, make that work? It's a little bit hard to do. But in this one, try and pick it up. It's like it's just 1-to-1 because it's just dots in the same space. And this one, you know, it's like you can, you know, you can do all sorts of things with it. You know, we've done sword and shield fights and stuff like that, you know. So props, not a problem at all. And it doesn't really matter how you turn it because we have coverage everywhere. So the whole volume is covered in cameras. So the cool thing about that is like, if you wanted to do a virtual camera in the same space, 4 dots, iPad, cage. I have a virtual production system. This can talk to Unreal's virtual camera system, so we can live stream this into the same. And when I point the camera, Martin, that I'm pointing at him, it's the same coordinate system. So it's a one-to-one relationship, which is really cool. Really, really cool. Because then you can start, you know, you could even do, I like the methodology of, you know, shooting all the mocap first, and then go back in with a VCam afterwards. I can send all the actors home. I don't need them. But I can shoot the camera. Or if you really want to, you can shoot the same thing in a day. If I tried to do this with some of the inertial systems, those 2 tracking systems talking to each other would always slide. So I would go like this and go, oh shit, I need to go, you know. So using an optical motion capture system is really powerful. You know, you need the system, but when you have it, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff.
I just want to mention, maybe you were not here because Gustav showed us the coil from Rokoko, which worked really, really well with the new global absolute system, which is good. But for us, we need a bigger space, especially for hanging and lifting up in the air, goes on ladders. And the good thing here is the prop placement. But I just want to make some kudos to Rokoko because I think the coil system is getting along.
Oh no, it's very cool for that system, for sure.
And,
yeah.
And it actually worked. Last time, it didn't work. But I think they come a long way with that.
Yeah,
it's a kind of where do you use this and where do you use the coil?
The coil system is basically a micro volume because it has a reach, right? It's a magnetic field. So, but you can extend it. You could hang it like 4 of them. I think I can't remember how many you can, but they were
not too happy about that.
No, okay, but that's coming in a later version. But you can. The cool thing I would say about Rokoko system is that for this guy, if I were to track the fingers, I would have to put dots on all, and now I'm stressing the system a bit because it's might be smaller dots. There's many of them. If I have 4 motion capture actors in the volume, but all 10 fingers going. So Alan and the BrainBar team has developed this plugin that is like integrating Rokoko's gloves into the whole solution. That means that we can use, because the Rokoko gloves are really cool, so we don't need to put dots on. We can put the gloves on and then integrate it into the system, and then it will work instead of putting dots on. So that helps us a little bit. Yeah, question?
How many dots can the system do?
It's a little like saying how long is a piece of string. You have to test it, right? You have to go, because these are 57 dots, right? But when this system can do, like 5, 6, 7 people like this. If you put more dots on, it will go, okay, more dots, more dots, more dots. And at some point you will go, oh, hang on a minute. It's like, because it's like how much can you do? It's a testing. But I will say, like, very comfortably we could do easily 4 or 5 people like this with props. Very comfortable.
It depends on the cameras and how many frames per second and stuff. On Avatar, we had 100 cameras, and we could track 20 characters on set in like 10 times the size. Here we had 32 cameras. It's meant that we can track 4 people. We haven't actually tried it, but yeah. We tried on Friday, we tried 2 people that were hugging, no problem.
Yeah.
It was just working, and it was pretty cool.
So what I really like about this system is that you can really get into acting the characters out, because it is so precise that you can really do it. I mean, some of you might have to ape school to learn how to perform with these extenders. Alex will know what I'm talking about. He's very versed in these things. But the fact that you can do that, and you can be the monkey in you, right? It's like that's super powerful, right? And I have a small example if you want to play or just on the screen. Yeah. So I don't know how many of you are gamers. Anybody knows any game? Yeah. Okay. Last of Us. The first one. No. Yeah. So I just want to show you a quick example. So if you want to play the clip. So this is The Last of Us. So obviously it's a couple of years old, but this gives an example of what you can do with a system like this. Because if you have ever played this game, you know that the characters their performance is really fucking good. You really get to feel that you're there with them in the scene. You know, the way they're acting. They don't do facial capture right here, but the fact that you have all these characters acting together in the same space, and you create a safe space for the actors to really feel like, okay, I need to be in character now. I am the character. I am this person. You know, and then everybody just steps aside and let them do their thing, which is different from a film production where you have like hundreds of people around you all the time, and you know things are happening. You're really trying hard, but here you can really dive deep into your character and really portray that well. And it's about the little things like how you're standing. You know, if she were to do the dialogue, she's not in character. You have to inhibit the character because the system can see it. So if you're out of character, you go, hang on a minute, what? You know, it's super precise and really cool to go from. There's a debate: is it performance capture? Is it motion capture? I call it performance capture because it sort of implies the art in it, whereas mocap, yeah, I would say if I need to do 60 run cycles for a game, I will call it motion capture, right? It's like how much in character are you, right? But you know, I love this stuff because you can literally, you know, for cinematics, for games, you can literally, you know, really get the action out of the people, and the characters will just come alive. That's also why it's important for the actors, motion capture actors, also to know a little bit about what you're doing. And Alex will talk about that on a later workshop. But you know, is it for game? Is it cinematics? Is it film? Is it VFX? Thank you very much. Yeah. Any questions? I'm just talking. Yes.
So my question would be: is there are no
sorry, the microphone. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. So since these dots are like they're not numbered as such, I presume the software interpolates their overall position compared to each other to know what sort of object it's.
Can you bring up the label list? So actually, they are labeled. They are numbered.
Okay.
They have a specific function, and we're always dealing with a thing here where we're swapping labels. Mm-hmm. So if you try and do this. So one of the things here is that if some of these dots get really close together, obviously it's impossible for the system to go, is it this one or that one? I mean, you might keep the name, but you don't know if left is right and right is left. Thank you. So, but that's why the label list is here. You can see that it's called like mic back left, mic back right, wrist front, wrist left, wrist back, and so forth. And if it contains this name in the right order, you know, and the labels will stick to the tracker marker, then you will have the proper skeleton. If you start swapping, you know, and especially if you do like, you know, if you're bending down and you're merging all the dots together, you can have swapping. But there's some really great tools where you go, okay, these two are swapped. Drag, select, click, swap, boom, fixed. So yeah, so everything is labeled. Everything has to be in order, otherwise we get chaos. We don't want that. Not in this instance. Any other questions? Yeah.
A physical scene, like a fight scene, wouldn't that start to get difficult when you get close to one another and start covering up these balls?
I mean, it depends. Okay. You know, how many we're talking about. If we're talking about 4 people, there's a lot of these motion capture companies who will show, like at SIGGRAPH and things, like people lying in piles, because that is literally the holy grail of this. Can you do that or not? And the software is getting better. So I would say it's per scene base. I would look at it, and I will try and go, is there something we can fix? Can we, because you can move these cameras, they don't have to be in this constellation. This is a sort of, let's say, a general setup. But you could have all the dots, you know, like just around here. If you really want to like a high end and you can't miss a beat, you can put these cameras differently for that specific scene, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to that also. One of the ways around that is that you can, because it's motion capture, you can you can separate the fighting characters from each other.
Yeah.
And you can punch the air and the person can react to it, and then you can just later on slide them back.
Yeah, exactly. You can move them. We did one scene where, you know, somebody has to, you know, with a sword hit out after Alex, and for health and safety reasons, I don't want him in the way of that. So we just sort of split it out, because obviously this is all data, right? It's like it just comes out as whatever data you wanted, an FBX, an BHV, or whatever you wanted, and then you can move it in post later if you wanted to. Yeah, so that's a good point, very good point. Can we switch to the Unreal, the MetaHuman? I don't know if you need to do a thing there. So just to touch a bit about the connection into Unreal. So we can stream this like Rokoko can. We can stream this live into the network, and then we can pick it up in Unreal. And this is just a metahuman character, which is, if you don't know, this is Unreal's easy-to-use, near-realistic, humanistic characters, which are really good. So there's a whole editor you can create, and you can scan your own face and make yourself a metahuman and stuff. It's really, really fucking powerful. So if you want to walk around a bit, do a little bit of walk over the box and stuff. So this is one-to-one. And what's interesting here is that Martin's height and this metahuman character might not match. So this metahuman character might be 2 meters tall. Right? And this is a thing that comes into effect when you have creatures with different arm length. So because this system is streaming one-to-one, that means that if I need to put Martin on a monkey from Planet of the Apes, for example, who has a completely different size of skeleton, the cool thing about that is that either you can do a little bit of live retargeting within the quality system, or you could also just export it and people can do it in Maya or whatever, motion builder and stuff. But Unreal has these really cool tools where you can live retarget. I don't have an example today for this, but we will touch on it later in the workshops. But basically, since Martin's arm is this length, if I were to put this on the skeleton that has shorter arms, it will literally just stretch it. There would be issues. The stride length will be different. But what we can do in Unreal is that we can take that data, take this data, put it on this skeleton live, so you can use this for previsualization or whatever you want, like a creature that's like a fucking troll that's like 8 feet tall, or a little gnome character is running around, or a mouse or something like that. So it means that the data gets translated into that character. Therefore, the character will take the right size steps and stuff. Because otherwise, if you walk around like this, the mouse will go it will go across the stage like really fast, right? So that's a really powerful tool set, and that's why I think Unreal for me is like, I use that as a cleanup tool. Taking the motion capture data, I can clean it up, I can fix things, I can export it out to an FBX and put it in Unity if I wanted to. It's a really powerful tool set, and we will touch upon that in other workshops. But what we could do here as well, and we haven't done it here, but we could take this box and put it in, and it will be a one-to-one prop. It could be a sword, a torchlight. It could be whatever you wanted to make it. We could also do facial capture. And just as an example, we're not going to do it today, but this is the really awesome Rokoko head mount. Which is basically, this is for an iPhone. You can put your iPhone in here, and then you can put this on the actor. We can put the dots on the side, so we still get the thing. And then we can live stream his facial movements onto the metahuman, live as well. And the cool thing about that is that the metahuman has this tool set called Metahuman Animator, which is basically a new way of doing it where you can get really precise facial capture, because facial capture is really hard to get right. It's really hard to work with. There's a lot of cleanup normally, but on the metahuman skeleton, it just works so fantastically good. Do you know Senua Hellblade 2? No? You should go and check out the game. It's from Ninja Theory, and they're using the whole metahuman system. If you look at that game, it's literally like watching a film when you play it, because the facial animation is stunningly good. And that's using the metahuman animator toolset and some of these things.
I just want to show the new Rokoko thing.
I thought this was the new one. I'm behind. Oh no.
So Rokoko made this one.
Oh yeah, with the camera.
Already.
Yeah.
And a small light ring. So it's only works on Android for now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's so light.
Yeah.
Try and lift it. It's just so light. Because the problem is that when you have an actor with a lot of stuff on, after half an hour, I have a headache. It needs a lot of stuff and batteries and cables. But that solution is pretty neat, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like the whole tool set of all the hardware is there's a lot of stuff, and you can have a pouch with microphones and headgear and batteries and stuff. So, you look like a combat soldier going into action.
I wanted to, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very much. It's very interesting. I wanted to kind of just turn the camera a little to you guys and ask you all, what is your story? What is your interest? Where is your, compared to mocap, have you worked with it? Have you, I don't know if anyone has something to say about that, but I just wanted to kind of understand the audience. Why are you here-ish? If you don't want to talk, you just put the baton to the next one.
That's for sure. Yeah, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but
don't
okay.
worry.
So I came from the video editing background, but video editing was not enough. So that's why I started to kind of learn graphics as well. And obviously, I've seen people around me filming and using the motion capture for the films. So I'm just like, wow. So that's
You
why
wanna know
basically.
more. Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, it's also like I work in advertisement, and yeah, well, if we can say like that, I have a dream to work with the, I don't know, cyber sport companies where they making an advertisement for their products and including the human being and 3D characters. So, and I think it can be useful technology for that. So.
Very nice. Sounds interesting.
You don't have to talk. If you don't have anything to say, just pass it on. You can
Okay.
just-
No, actually, my
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it's great. It's good. So yeah.
apologize if I'm not phrasing my question correctly, but we work with real-time virtual live productions, and one thing that I'm considering is like the use case of these tracking markers. Now, we wouldn't, since most of our clients are corporate type of clients, been able to rig people up with a suit like this. But I'm also thinking, do we really need to? Having the information just in layers relative to the camera would possibly be useful enough for us in order to like put in graphics and have them kind of move around digital objects.
Sure. I mean, it depends what you want to do. If you can record all the action. You can have a whole library of movements.
Yeah.
And then just put like a walk cycle. He's walking, standing, normal, standing, agitated.
I'm
waving,
thinking
as a
specifically
library.
maybe giving him some kind of pen that has a tracking marker, and then him interactively being able to
that's possible.
Draw something in the virtual space.
No, but you can. So it's like the system is data, right? If you pass it through Unreal, which is a game engine, whatever Unreal can do, you can do. So you can have a character, and then you come up with a system that does exactly what you describe. It draws with a pen. It leaves a trail. And then what you can do is just stream that out live on YouTube.
Yeah.
For example, from inside Unreal Engine. No problem.
Yeah.
People do it all the time. So
one thing that, like you mentioned that all these cameras overlap.
Yeah.
How few cameras could you possibly do this with and get by with something like drawing interactively in a space?
If you have one character with this, we could do like a smaller marker set. I mean, like between eight cameras would probably be enough. But I would go back and look at what do you want? What do you need? What is because it's like, do you need this setup? What mocap was is like just some dots you put on some wrist, which is Sony that has developed that for VR, right? Can you do that? So it's like, and what is your need for it? What can't go wrong? Is it okay if he's sliding and he's not standing in the same spot, or do we only see him from the waist up, or is he locked in place, or you know what I mean? It's like if you workshop that a bit, then you will find an answer to what technology will do the best job for you. If I were to do like a live presentation for Maersk with the CEO, I would do this. Not because they have money, but because it's like that's a pro solution, and they want walk around, and he's like there all the time. If you're just live streaming to everybody out there, But it depends on what you want to do. It's like, again, you have to, with mocap, I think planning is key. You have to think about what you do, because it obviously has a cost involved, but where do you start compared to what you want?
The amount of cameras is directly related to the size of the volume.
I get that, but as long as they can triangulate,
totally.
they can see the object.
But again, so it's like, if you have 8 cameras, maybe you have 2 times 2 meter volume. So you can't really walk around too much, right?
No.
If you want 10 times 10 meter because he has to run across the floor, then it's like, then you need this.
Yeah.
So it scales up, right? And then you might go, well, as I said, we want this, so we should use a Rokoko suit instead, because they're not that expensive, right? But it's like,
Or you can use
Yeah, you can hand animate it. Use an Xbox controller.
I am mainly an actor and sometimes director as well. I also do study a bit of creative branding. So I wanted to see from all aspects how this is being used, especially acting in a gaming scenario. But I was also wondering, where is it being used the most here in Denmark at the moment?
That's a very good question. It's so Alan and I and everybody in this room has been on this journey for many years by now, and I come from a background at Framestore, from 15 years ago. But working in London for 14 and a half years, where you can basically go around down to Soho and find somebody and walk in and go, I need 8 hours of mocap. What I figured out was like, I came to Denmark and I was like, I need mocap. I was like, there is nothing. Where do I need to go? And it's like, I need to go by Kansas and Stockholm, but they do all the Marvel stuff. And I was like, this is why we exist, because there's a gap. We want the industry to adopt this technology, because we can't believe that Denmark is not using this where everybody else outside of Scandinavia, well, Denmark is not using it. Because it's a wonderful technology, right? It's like you can use so many things. It's like, why are we not doing this? What are we so afraid of, right? So that's the journey we're on, is to literally showcase. That's why this workshop is for as well, is to educate people that it's not dangerous. There is people who know what they're doing. If you want to do something, you are in safe hands, right? So it's a conundrum, but it's the whole industry. It's not film, it's not games, it's the whole thing. It's advertising. If people go, I don't know.
I would say we have some game company. We have IO that makes Hitman.
They use it extensively.
Volume they use for walk stuff and idle stuff and small acting stuff and the split.
But that's an in-house.
That's an in-house thing, and it's quite expensive to rent, as I understand.
If you can, I don't think.
We wanted to kind of democratize it a little, and everything we do here we do for free until there's money involved. So it's kind of it is a journey, but it's with a low market. It's a bit slow, but
and it's also show and tell, right? It's like because I can understand why people go like, yeah, I've heard about mocap. You see the sort of really cool behind the scenes. Oh, there you go. Behind the scenes, for big production, you go, oh well, they have $90 million gazillion, right? And it's like, oh, we have 10 million for Danish film, right? What should we do? And it's like, well, we want to create a space where you can do it. You can come and explore. You can come and try it out, and we can talk openly about how much what does it cost? Because I think we want to demystify this a lot. It's like, what is it? But it's also educating people to go, this is good for that. This is good for and here you should definitely use it, right? I mean, we worked with Bacon X on a Magnum commercial where they have this funny idea that the Magnum ice cream is not available in metaverse. So we started with a metahuman walking around, and they used mocap. And that was really interesting because everybody was going like, oh, that's really cool. You can, because once you're in the suit and you go action, that is 1-to-1. If it takes 2 minutes for the actors to do the scene, it's 2 minutes, right? So you can imagine, okay, I have a 10-minute scene. You should cut it maybe up in 4, but how much can you do a day then? Well, if you're 8 hours working for the actor maybe, depending on how tough it is a stunt, but 8 hours of mocap, that's a lot, right? It's like, are you doing a 90-minute film? But of course, it comes to planning. A lot of it is planned in shots, but once you're going, right? There's no.
It's quite effective.
Yeah, it's very effective. Hope that answers your question. Sorry, I talk a lot. So.
I'm mostly here as an actor. I also do dance and just started doing stunts. And I'm just here to learn more. I think it's so interesting, and I would love in the future to be a mocap actor. And yeah, it's just really, really interesting. And I also love gaming, so maybe one day be a part of making a game would be amazing.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that especially Unreal there's an Unreal meetup this Thursday. Especially with the use of Unreal is starting to be more used in Denmark for games, raw power games, Bifrost games. There's a lot of game companies. And, mocap for games, for me, seems like it fits so well together. Mm-hmm. It fits so well together, right? So I think that's what it's being, I think, mostly used for on a big scale, right? So I mean, we would love to see the same. It's like we're on the same. Oh, you have already? Okay, that's good. Because he's the guy who knows how it feels like to be sort of almost like the first going, hello, right? It's like, can we do this, right? So that's awesome.
But can I just point the direction to. He's still there.
Yeah. No, that is. It's still
It's
working.
quite robust and it's quite stable, and it's like this the rest of the week, meaning it's quite effective to actually
Oh, no.
do this because you can turn this on in 1 minute, and then it works. And
Let's try something.
that's quite good for
Physics. It's very good for physics.
So yeah, that's a good example because it's not always only humans we mocap. It's also stuff that it could be a puppet, it could be your 3D printed thingy.
What's
called puppeteering and stuff. It could be whatever. It could be a bouncing ball. You need a bouncing ball in your game. How do you do that? Well, you can come here and make a bouncing ball. Pretty easy. So it's kind of versatile. And then also, if we open up to the stunt story, it's getting interesting because then you can.
We actually have a clip of what happens when you do when you rig up a stunt person. Now that we are talking about stunts, somewhere we're working on it. Oh, it's on the. We need to change the monitor.
What happens if you put the box on your head while it does that? Does it affect?
Well, we can try in a minute. But let's just have a look. So this is basically in a rig, stunt rig, right?
And this is just to show. I mean, I really love Rokoko, and I think they have done a super job in Denmark.
Oh, for sure.
Doing this thing. It has been a long journey for them. But they cannot hang in the air.
No.
They simply can't. So we wanted to show what is the really thing with optical that is really interesting. And of course, she's quite trained, Sophia there.
It takes
This is not easy to do.
No.
So when you're hanging in the harness and 2 points here, and that's what we want to put out on the market, stuff that we cannot do anywhere else.
Yeah. And especially within games as well, you can imagine you have people who are spellcasters or whatever. They have to float in air and they have to come in really cool and land like a superhero and stuff like that. We can do that in here, right? So, and that's going to be a tough crowd for the Rokoko team to crack, right? Because it's a lot of stuff there that needs to go right. So yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah. You choose the tool for the project. Sometimes we can use Rokoko, sometimes we use optical. Oh, there it went.
Can you go back to the Qualisys view? Can we go back to the Qualisys view? Thank you. So we just had a question there's about like what happens if you put the box on your head and try it, and then take it off again. I mean.
So just try and do it again, please, Martin. So up here in the corner, you see the markers not being tracked.
Yeah.
Now the head level, the head top, the head front, and box 1 is not tracked.
But the system, because it's like the system literally sort of constantly looks at the skeleton and going, am I okay? Am I okay? I'm okay. And I think it's something like if 2/3 of the markers are gone, like the more stuff, if they fall up, and all of a sudden the leg will be like really weird, and you go, okay, hang on a minute, right? Something's wrong. But the cool thing about it is that if you have a T-pose in the beginning and things like that, you can actually go back and recreate it in post. So even if these markers are gone and you say, but I need to see those markers, we can recreate it in as a cleanup session, right? In a cleanup session. But I mean, if it works, right? And that's the cool thing about the Qualisys system as well, is like it constantly looks at itself and going, am I doing it okay? Right? Like even with because if I go over and hit one of these cameras, rotate this thing, it's going to go, oh, wait, hang on a minute, what happened to the volume? Because maybe the volume is not the same as it just was 2 seconds ago, but it has this sort of continuous calibration that if you just knock it or it vibrates or anything, it will just fix itself to a certain degree. If I go and take 2 cameras out, it might go, hang on a minute, right? Because you ruin the entire sort of setup.
What's the white flickering dot?
So this is actually because it thinks it's seeing a dot. If nobody has reflective shoes on, no. So there's some of these sneakers that has like really high reflective shoes, and if you walk across, you can actually see it, like even if I have my watch on. So it thinks it's seeing a dot, but because it's not attached to anything. Yeah. So this one you can see if I, Woo.
Actually, there's a little vibe because these lights
Mercury.
Mercury. Oh. And it contains IR, infrared light. These ones. So everything that is a reflection
It would be,
dots.
yeah.
And that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So one day when
Yeah.
we will place lights up here, actually Philips Hue panels that doesn't contain IR.
Yeah.
And that will make all the, the dead dots disappear. But it's quite robust because it doesn't really matter.
No.
It's just dots that we don't use.
I mean,
so
you
can you just pull out the untracked, the unnamed markers? The red one up here. Can you press the red list?
that one, yeah. There you go.
So you see here all the markers being tracked. That doesn't
Oh.
have a name or a place to
Yeah.
stay.
But I mean, what we normally do is we make sure that the volume is clean of what shouldn't be there because we want the best possible solve for the skeleton, right? But it's just it is, yeah. So can we show the video view of the skeleton overlay? That's actually really interesting. So as you just saw before, we had this all these cameras, right? And that's literally the cameras that is you can see from the point of view of the camera what's going on. This is a special camera where you literally have the skeleton overlay on it. So this is a mix of real world and then the skeleton solve. And this is really good because if you want to, what is going on, right? This is a witness cam and we can record this. So for the post-production people, we can literally go and say, okay, this is what happened during the take. Because did the arm go like this or did it go like that, right? So it's an amazing thing to have because it's it looks quite freaky, but it's like, you have a skeleton. Woo. It's about making sure that what we're seeing is what we get as well, right? So it gives us an extra chance of just verifying that things are the way they should be. I think we were going any more introduction of. Do we want to continue before I just continue talking?
All good. Found reason to be here, but I work as a cinematographer and I want to get smarter and work with interesting tech.
You should come back when we do the previsualization talk.
I would love
in
to.
a couple of Mondays from now, because that is basically about more
cool.
maybe more your segment of film and cinematography.
Sure.
Yeah,
Would love that.
Yeah.
So I do lighting and visual effects, and I think I'm kind of interested in figuring out if there's a use case for this technology in between. Like, I do a lot of live action with real people, real sets. Is there an in-between where this makes sense, where it's not like all CGI, all million-dollar budgets? That's mainly what I'm interested in.
Do you have something in mind? Have you thought about something when you see this now and go, maybe I could, there would make sense, or there, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, a thought that just hit me was when we were talking about props. Like, I never thought about motion capping props. That makes so much sense.
It's interesting because I believe that if you go to one of the big Pinewood studio, for example, in England, some of the stages are all motion captured. There's metadata for everything, so camera tracking, lenses, things. So you request, can we just track that thing, or you can set it up, right? And it's a mythology that in Denmark, because the budgets are so small, we don't have. But I will bet my ass that if a DOP or one of the post guys will do a lot of stuff to try and get a lot of this data. I think they might have to get it themselves now. I'd have to come up with a solution. So, but if you had this in a live action film, and you have one thing you need to go, okay, that football needs to be something else afterwards. If you could track it and it was precise, you might not have to do tracking in comp. You might not want to. You might. So. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of options to it, but I also think that you're working. There's nothing the other way. There's nothing available right now. You have to invent it yourself. I think for the most part.
That's a little demo here. I just took a ball that is soft, and when I squish it, what we tell the system is that this is an object, but when we squish it, at a point it says, "Oh, no, I cannot recognize it anymore." It is kind of interesting because. Kind
kind of works. It's an interesting test to see also because, you know, knowing what it can do is good, but what it can't do is equally more important, right? That you go like, oh, can we do this thing? It's like, we can always figure it out. Like, you know, this business like Post, you know, it's the business of figuring out what can we do, right? It's like solving problems, basically. Yeah? Just a microphone, sorry.
Every time you give me that thing, I'm starting to feel a little bit more nervous.
Yeah.
But what I try to consider, like you told that productions actually need to think about which technology that they need to use.
Mm-hmm.
But as I get it, for filmmaking, you need to use more precise technology. Do you think they actually trying to decrease the amount of space they can use? So basically, what do you need to consider in a pre-production to film with this technology? How many factors?
I mean, it depends on what are you trying to achieve, because obviously on the big, you know, movies like Marvel and stuff, you know, like maybe 90% of the characters are digi-doubles, right? So it's like, you know, so that makes sense to have all this gear, right? All this precise motion capture, because, you know, it saves time, because if you have to hand animate all that movement, you will never finish, right? So.
Or
we kind of have a session addressing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
By you know, opening up for the talk about what is needed when you have an idea. Where do you go? Who do you talk to? What does it cost? And how do you plan?
Yeah.
That is actually the next session on next Monday.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about these things. Maybe we haven't really decided what the talk is,
but is there anything else you wanted to know about that?
Yeah, it was just like, so you told specifically about RAM, and like I was just wondering, can it be possible not to continue with this setup?
Yes.
Yeah, but you kind of like just loop it, or like
Loop it?
Loop the movement into.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if I record 30 seconds of me just walking a walk cycle, I can loop that infinitely and then move it across the screen, no problem. Yeah. I mean, so it's about, you know, they do that in games all the time. They literally just blend between animations, right? So games would often have, you know, a set of, let's say, 80 movements: running, walking, jumping. When you play a character, you know, and you run forward and then you decide to stop, that's two different animations just blending between it. And the computer does the blending. It says, it's like a video clip blending, basically. It's like a transition, right? Yeah. So it transitions from one clip to another, but it's clever enough to understand that it can't be, you know, janky. It can't look chaotic. It has to look smooth, right? So it does that, right? Okay. So if you plan that correctly, then you can have like a set of animations you can use again and again and again and again. And there's a lot of stuff. Miximo, for example, which is an online shop that is, I think it's still Adobe's. Mm-hmm. It's a huge library of movement. You're running, jumping, hopping, you know, but it's like, it's not character-based, so it's like generic movements. Yeah. But if you want them jumping angrily, I don't know how would you jump angrily? So you know, then you're in sort of like, okay, I need to create it, right? Yeah. But I would also say about the system, now we looked at Rokoko, right? There's Xsense, there's mocap, which is these sort of bracelets you put on. Maquette, your friend Alex, makes the, yeah. So what's happening, Marriott, yeah, sorry. What's happening is obviously camera vision, you know, and if you talk to the people who make all this system, they go, yeah, camera-based, but it's gonna take some time. So at the moment where you're at now is that you can, Rokoko also has it built-in, you can use an iPhone and you can record yourself, you don't need to put any suits on, anything like that. But there is still sort of like a problem is that, yeah, you can do it, but you can't do it good enough. There's a lot of cleanup because the foot might be sliding like this, or, you know, so it's not like one-to-one, but it's coming, right? It's definitely something that we're looking into as well, and the manufacturers of the cameras are obviously going, well, you might have to change all the cameras to video cameras. But, you know, there you go, right? I mean, it's like technology will advance. And it's good for consumers and good for us because you have a toolbox that is quite big now. It's not just one thing you have to do. You can use this. Is it good for the project? What's the budget, right? It's like, that's the thing as well, right? So there's plenty of options. But there's also plenty of, I would say, use cases out there, cases where you see people taking the wrong decision, right? And I see a lot of people talking about, it's like, oh shit, no, we wanted to do this, but either we didn't have the people who knew how to use the system, or we thought it was easy to use, you know? Animation is hard, right? So if you hire an animator, you know, well, there's a reason why it's costly. If you want humanistic movement as an animator, you know, you better have a budget, right? So, you know.
Also, some characters are not possible to look at. For example, we heard a story about the Troll. You know the Troll movie from Norway?
It's a Netflix.
It's not mocapped. It's keyframe animated. Because they couldn't figure out how to put in it's 50 meters tall and it's very, very heavy, and it just didn't look correct when a person did it. And they used Andy Serkins' studio as
Imaginarium.
And they ended up doing it in keyframe because the gravity of all and the big, so it's you need to test.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of really nice projects out there where you can see how they used it in one form or another. There's this, I think also on Netflix, called Giant Robot Brothers, and if you find the behind the scenes for that, it's really interesting because they use, you know, sort of the X-Sense suit only for previs. But that was because, you know, they have giant robots going through this sort of, what's it called, like the giant style in like Godzilla and all that stuff in Japan, like wrecking. And what they needed was like timing, and they had a plane that was this big, but the robot was this big. And then they shot the whole thing and then chucked out the mocap data and then hand animated for style, right? Because they wanted a specific animation style on 2s, 4s, whatever it was. So that's another, you know, concept. Like, why would they want to use a mocap then? Well, it's because you can previs the entire film before you start. And why would you do that? Because now you know where the problems are, you know how to solve them, you know what the film's going to feel like as well, right? So that's another example of it, right? That you don't have to use it all the way through. Use it for where it makes sense. Which is also the problem, because if you try to do something where you should have been using mocap, you will figure out that, you know, hand animation is expensive.
The storytelling with the camera, the feel, handheld feel, dolly moves, great moves. You can quite easily test all this in different moods when you have some acting in front of you with the virtual camera. So that's also, I think, that is quite useful.
Yeah.
Previs. We have a session with previs where we are diving into how we do previs and why it's clever to do previs, and so we won't dive too much into that today. But I think it's more or less what we have for today, really. And so thank you, everyone. I appreciate you came. I would like to hear your opinion of the format, because it's interesting for us to understand what we can do better. And but we can do that in the chat after. So just maybe give it a thought and. Again, so I'm not.
No, I was just saying, if you have any questions or anything afterwards, you know, come home. Just, you know, I think Alan does an email to BrainBar Studios. You can fire it off to maybe and say, hey, can I talk about this? Or
but yeah, so we had gone through Rokoko. We ate some lunch. We talked a little about the optical stuff. Martin, you jumped around. We had some updates. So yeah, that's now we can get some clients and work. Oh?
Yeah, I'll stop talking now.
So, Michael starts to stop talking. And we have been streaming today also. That's kind of interesting.
Yay.
Did you get some feedback from anyone on text? Yeah, that's cool. So I think that concludes today for today. The session number 1 in the workshop series. Thank you again to Nordic Film Fund for the lunch and all. So
very nice.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey. Thank you. And cut. yeah. Well, that's another thing, yeah. Precise hands. Woo. Get that for free.
That is all for today. We will be streaming the next Monday as well. We're trying to stream every single one, licenses permitting. And I'm just going to go into frame. What should we call it? Yeah, that's all for today. We ran out of time, so we didn't do our character design and FOSS ideology part, which is part of introducing BrainBar, but we'll probably get around to that at one of the other ones, or otherwise look at our website, brainbarstudio.com, where we have some more information about what we do here and the basis for everything. So thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone who have been here. Thanks to our speakers, Rokoko, Gustav, Michael Jaeger, Michael Jaeger, and Simon Karfaast. And see you again next time. Thank you.